again. My name is Mazuko. I'm sitting here with Zinzo. We are Creative Central, and this is our third podcast. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. So, the first podcast we discussed about the introduction of who we are as Creative Central, what we are doing, why we exist, and who are we targeting. Second podcast, we talked about one of our pillars in our vision, which is self-realization, which is why self-realization is important in conjunction with the current education system, and putting in as well as the family, why the family environments needs to be important. So this time we're going to be talking about knowledge and independence. This is also the second and third pillars in our vision. So we're going to be diving in deep in regards to those things. So since I just want you to first start off, when we started Creative Central, we started with, we saw a problem in our communities and even in our nation as a whole. And part of the fact that a lot of people are not independent. They're relying on government and for a lot of things, whether it's social grant. We grew up, even in our families right now, families that we have, you'll find that our finances, whether it's salary or wages that you're getting, but it's supplemented by some sort of support from government. A lot of black people, to be specific, are coming from homes whereby, finances is an issue. So which means that independence is not there, because independence can be linked as well, particularly to finances. And then we also saw that what brings independence is having knowledge. So I want you to just get into explaining to us is that what happens when explaining more as to beyond what I've just said. What did you see that frustrated you in our communities that made you think that, okay, what's lacking here is knowledge?
I'll quote the scripture in the Bible that says, my people are suffering because of lack of knowledge. And if God says that, and you can see it, it means it's true.
All right.
And knowledge actually is a paradox, because knowledge can build and knowledge can destroy. People might absorb knowledge to build themselves, and people might absorb knowledge to destroy themselves. And unfortunately for our country, the knowledge that has been imparted to us by the system has been knowledge to destroy us, not to make us independent.
In what way?
For example, after apartheid, government should have designed programs for people to think independently.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you've heard that quote that says, you are what you think. And government has given people knowledge that you're going to become dependent on us as government. We're going to provide everything to you.
What is that knowledge?
For example, I would say that knowledge would be ignorance, if I'm answering you correctly. Because right now what is happening is that after apartheid, as I said, government promised a lot of things to people. We'll build you houses, you can receive social grants, free education, all those things are good. But my question is, are they sustainable? They are not. Are they making people to be independent? They are not. Now people have relied on that knowledge, that government promised us houses, promised us free education, promised us social grants, and has made actually our budget in our country to be much more big, because now government has to spend a lot of money giving people money, social grants, and then as you've observed in our communities, people, they're not using that money wisely. It's not a way of people, they've worked for that money. People now, they're just being lazy. I'm sorry to use that word, that people are lazy, they're not productive because of government has given them free money. Secondly, people now, they're getting houses that they're not living. They're not living in those houses. For example, some people, they're renting out those houses. You understand? Because they need money. They need to be independent. Now government gives people free houses. People, they're not able to maintain those houses. Now they have to rent out those houses so that they have an income. Meaning that government, it goes back again, government didn't have enough knowledge about the system, about the environment where people live. Do you understand? Now, also, what did I say again? So I mentioned social grants, right?
Yes.
And RTP.
Yes.
Free education. Our education system, I'm going to talk more about parents, about families right now. From my experience in teaching, parents don't value education because it's free.
Okay.
They don't value, I don't want to lie to you, they don't value it. For example, when you call on parents' meetings, maybe 2 parents or 5, they will come. Imagine, this is free, it's given to us. And in other countries, you pay for education. but parents don't value education, and that's why our children, they're not doing so well sometimes, because of they see that there's no value into this.
Okay.
Do you understand? Meaning that we need to give them knowledge why education is important.
All right. So for a child who's growing up in a setting in the home, as you've just mentioned, this kind of a setting where the mentality at home is we look to government to get to a living. How would you transform that mindset in a child, and what kind of information can you give to a child that will make them realize that it's important for me to be independent, and what kind of knowledge that I should have?
The first thing I would do is to first provide an environment, and then secondly is to impart knowledge to support that environment, and that knowledge would be to inspire that child. To be honest with you, we don't have a lot of role models in our communities. People, like for example, even from on TV, the role models that we see is have an easy life.
Yeah.
That's the knowledge that we're getting, have an easy life. Even our brothers out there, you find a brother that has an expensive car, but that guy didn't work for that car or that house. That's the knowledge that we've been given growing up. That okay, look, you know what? For me to have great things, this is the short route that I have to take. You understand? Now in creative, when you enter there, the first thing that you get is to impart knowledge that okay, look, you know who you are, you know your value, you are aware of your surroundings, you don't do harm to people, you understand? And you work hard to get something. Success is hard, you understand? And there will be tribulation that might come, but you have to work hard. That is the knowledge that I will impart to those children. Because first of all, they need to be inspired. They need to find a reason why are we here. You understand? Because if there's no inspiration, there's no use. It will be boring.
Yeah. And I like to as well agree with you, because I remember knowledge has been a big thing. I realized that in varsity, when I was transitioning from high school to, in fact, not from high school to varsity, from varsity to the working environment, I found there was a point where I worked, and then I realized that no man, this is not for me. Like waking up in the morning, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. in fact, I should be getting out of the house because I need to clock into work at like 7, and then start working. And the pay that I'm getting in comparison to the amount of work that I'm doing is not satisfying, and I have a lot of needs to take care of. So I got to a point whereby I realized, okay, obviously there's people who are succeeding. How are they succeeding? And I don't want to go the route of whereby I follow, whether, people will look in the streets or in our communities whereby either they're into some shady business or there's another way that we don't know of how they're making money. So I didn't want to go there. So what knowledge, then I began to ponder, okay, obviously there is something that I do not know that I need to find out. And so even now, sitting here, I'm in a journey of attaining and getting that knowledge. So one of the things that I realized that I need and is lacking, I didn't have in my home, is financial education, which is knowledge in itself. So what kind of knowledge would you say that children at this very young age need to know in order for them to be independent? You get what I'm saying? For me, one of the things I realized, not only self-realization, like knowing myself, but I need to know finances. First of all, how to handle them, how to make more money, I could say, or build wealth besides the current salary I have. How to get to a point whereby I don't need to rely in a job, because as long as I'm still working, I'm still dependent on that job. So what are the kind of information we can give children that they maybe not necessarily cannot get at home for many reasons, but we can provide as Creative Central that will help them to reach a point whereby they are independent individuals?
As you've mentioned, the first one is financial education. Big time. We don't have enough knowledge about our finances. Like, we are reckless when it comes to money. Like, even the social grant that people are receiving from government, they don't know how to spend it. And it's scary how we make debts to survive. And it's just scary. The whole system, man, is just scary. So the first one would be financial education, because if you want to be disciplined financially, you have to start from entry level, from early childhood. You understand? And you grow up with that. And the second one will be agriculture. You know.
Why agriculture?
Agriculture is sustainable. I'll talk about in sustainability, but agriculture is sustainable. I mean, I like the saying that says, use what you have. The ground you have it, God gave it to you.
Yeah.
Now you can plant and make something out of it.
Okay.
And then now the only thing that they need is knowledge to go and say, okay, look, a business skill knowledge. To say, okay, look, plant something, have a spinach or a carrot, go to Spar and sell it, and have a business, have a trade business with Spar. You see, that's an idea. You are able to sustain yourself. Now you are independent as well.
Okay.
You understand? So the finances and agriculture, and there's another one that we've mentioned, which is, I believe, it's entrepreneurship.
Okay.
You understand? And to be independent, you need to be an entrepreneur. Because when you rely on a boss for an income, you're not really being independent.
Sure.
Yeah, because you're dependent on that person to give you an income.
Yeah.
You understand? And if that person decides, okay, you know what, I don't need you anymore, then you're out of a job, you don't have any income coming, and then now you're dependent again. You understand?
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship, I think it's a route to take for one to become independent.
Okay. So we did talk, I want to tie in a little bit about like the previous podcast we have, which was about self-realization and also about knowledge and independence, just to bring them a little bit. So you mentioning about we're just mentioning at this moment subjects, or rather the content that's going to be taught to the kids when they come to Creative Central, for instance. So you mentioned agriculture, you mentioned as well financial education, you mentioned entrepreneurship. Now you find that a lot of children, because they don't have purpose, they don't know which career paths to take. So would you say that informing children at a young age, actually you told me a story, I think you said about your niece that already there's a private school she's going to, and she had to prepare this presentation at a very young age. She already knows, okay, this is what I want to do.
Exactly.
And she's what, in grade R?
She was in grade 1, and she was doing a presentation about herself. What are future plans? She was in grade 1. I was so surprised, like, what? I did this in grade 9 and you're doing this in grade 1. Wow, who are you? You understand? So it's surprising the way private education is so successful and the public education is not really working for us, people who come from marginalized communities. You understand? So I think, again, designing a content that will really respond to the environment and also be relevant to our modern market, modern economy. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to teach people, give people knowledge, at the same time they leave your program and they can't find a job. They can't sustain themselves. You understand? So it's really sad. So that's what I want us to do, is to design an environment, give them skills, and let them go into the market and let them be independent. So
yeah. All right, thank you very much for joining us once again on our 3rd podcast. We hope to see you on the 4th one. See you then.